I grew up with this worry of how am I going to be successful. Got 2 licenses to actually be like a securities broker. But I was looking at my coworkers and like their lunch boxes and their faces were just expressionless, like had no life in them. Around the time that I was deciding I didn't want to stay in securities, this company with 200 plus employees was about to go into a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They really needed somebody who had a financial background, but also who they could trust. Okay, this could be scary. You're saying words like bankruptcy, but I saw this as such a huge opportunity to really learn, like the actual inner workings of a company. Most importantly, somewhere that I could make a big impact. Started off as a finance manager, ended up being VP of finance, and just enacted a lot of change there and a lot of processes and structure. We were seeing results, and it was really cool being somewhere that we could say, why do we do it like this? Let's not. And then the next day we could do something different. This was age 22 through like 30. So I literally learned how to run a business. Miami was so ready for Pure Barre. We opened the doors with 300 members. Seeing it come to life should have been so exciting. I did cry when it finally opened, but it was so brutal getting to that point that I was just like, let's just go.
It's the first time I heard someone say that they did have anxiety, but they don't have it anymore. Is there any specific practice that ended up helping you?
I think if I reflect back on it, it was
Kacia,
hi.
welcome to Chai Tea with Nina D. Thank you so much for coming here and being on our show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm just going to jump right into it.
Love.
What inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
I don't know if it was inspiration per se, in that it's something that I always saw for myself. Actually, I don't think it was. I always planned on like following the path that made the most sense, but I felt like I was going to find an opportunity and that would come for me.
If to get to know you, right?
Yeah.
It's like how you got to being an entrepreneur. So let's go back to like little Kacia. You're in Arizona. Describe to me like your childhood, your family dynamic, you went to school, like.
Yeah, so I grew up very principled. Like academics were, well, just being a high achiever in however that meant, was very important in my household, from academics to sports to, community. So definitely had high achieving qualities instilled from me from day one. So
And you're the oldest of 3, right?
The oldest of 3.
Okay.
My parents both worked. My dad travels a lot still for work, but was frequently in other countries. My mom's a flight attendant. And I was raised to be very, very responsible. Super fortunate that we were able to do a lot of things. But it also meant that I was a child with like a very, very full calendar. I was in like honors advanced placement classes since literally kindergarten. I remember being in kindergarten and taking the exam, and extracurricular activities always. So I don't think that there's something that kids do that I haven't done. Like I did soccer. I played multiple instruments.
Wow. What were some of the instruments you played?
Piano, clarinet. My dad tried to teach me to play the drums, but that one was not happening. Everything. I did diving. I did swim for years. I did gymnastics, tumbling, dance, like ballet, hip hop, jazz, all of them. Always throughout my entire childhood. So I got very used to having a full schedule, and I was raised to be very, very goal oriented in that way. All of these things are, you go to piano, you have to learn the music and then you perform it. So I did a solo dance in first grade. These types of things I was always exposed to, but it meant that I was always achieving goals. And I think that helped me a lot in growing up to be really responsible. It set me up to be a high achiever, but at the same time, it meant that I didn't grow up like relaxing or getting comfortable with downtime.
What did your dad do for work, or what does he or did he do for work?
My dad does satellite communications.
Oh, wow.
And that's all I know about that.
Okay.
Like, it's
okay.
very complex.
Okay. Got it.
And
then your mom was a flight attendant, and then you
yeah.
had siblings. And so do you feel like your parents were the most strict with you?
For sure.
I only asked that because I'm
For
the oldest
sure.
too, and I feel like they went hard at me. Like, you know,
Yes.
this one, it's almost like, we're going to do it right. You know, like, this is what you have to do. This is what you do.
100%.
And it just like spiraled. And like, I look back sometimes and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah.
the first one took the beating. I took the beating.
For sure.
Like, you know, like they were the roughest and toughest on me. And it's like, not a guinea pig per se, but it was almost like, they were definitely easier on
100% a guinea pig for me. Like my parents definitely had a lot of fun with me, and now like they were younger than I am now when they had me.
Right.
So I can just imagine.
Right.
But both of my parents were the youngest of 8 in their respective families.
Okay.
So they were both like the baby child that didn't have as strict of an upbringing. And on me and then even my sister, it was like...
So they had no structure growing up. And then they have a child and it's like, no, we gotta like guide this one and like tell her, okay, got
yes,
it.
for
it. That
sure.
makes sense.
For sure. And my sister got a lot of this too. We're only 2 years apart. Right. But I absolutely was the first one to have all these responsibilities and who had to be, you know.
Did you feel pressure? Like if you could go back to little Kacia in high school or grade school or college, did you feel pressure from your family to succeed?
Yeah, I felt pressure to make it, I mean, it's not a bad thing. I felt pressure to succeed, not in a specific way other than like make the right decisions, find the right career. I remember in high school thinking about like not just everyone was wanting to know what college were they going to go to, what sorority were they going to be a part of. And I was like, what career am I going to choose? Because that was kind of instilled in me that was the most important thing, which ultimately, you know, I turned out to be grateful for, but it was very different than a relaxed or like things will turn out fine childhood. I think I grew up wanting to make sure that I was making the right choices for my future.
Did it come also from a place of like, I want to make them happy?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I know I did that. That's what, you know, like, I'm just like, I know that for me, I didn't even see another universe. You know, when I was little, I was just like, yeah, but then they're going to be happy with me. You know, that sounds terrible now for me to say that out loud, but it's just like, it was subconsciously there as a child. Like, I'll get in trouble if I don't do this, right? Like,
yeah,
I'll get in trouble if I don't get an A on my test, or I'll get in trouble if I don't go to college, or if I say this. Like, that's how I did feel that pressure, but I didn't know it till I left it, you know, until I got older. Like, it wasn't obvious to me. So I assume like your parents expected you, because I think when you have high performing parents who expect you to be, you know, the best of the best, which is coming from a good place, right? We're not, you know, it's okay. But I do think, because my parents did this with me, they're like, you have to have a job. And in high school, it's like I was the only child out of my group of friends to have a weekend job, like 7 a.m. to like 5 p.m. So I'm not going to the pool with everybody.
Right.
You know, I'm not hanging out with my friends and like just, you know, hanging out. I'm like rushing home to shower and then meet them out later at night. And so I don't know if you had a similar...
Yeah. I mean, in high school, I feel like I actually had a few jobs. And the first job started as a summer job, but eventually I got a job during the school year too. Like, my summer job was when I was 15 and I became a dental assistant, which I think is the craziest first job ever. I was so bad at it.
Is that what you picked?
No, my cousin is a dentist. Okay. I have a lot of dentists in the family, but I was so bad at it. Like, I actually fainted during a wisdom tooth extraction.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, okay, I can't, like, the medical field is not going to be for me. I think we all faced that right away. But then by the time I was 16 and I could actually get a job for a non-family member, I started serving breakfast on the weekends. And that meant that, you know, my Saturday, Sunday morning, I had to be at work at 5. So in contrast to being in cheer, and I was a cheerleader for like 15 years, but all through high school, the demands of being on the cheer squad were that we had conditioning every single morning at 5 a.m. So I was waking up at 3:30. So, for high school, it's like the most I ever put makeup on in the morning. The most
100%.
I straightened my hair.
100%. I used to do the same thing. I used to get up at 5 to make it to school for 8 o'clock.
Hair wash day was every day.
Yeah, I remember
And
those
now
days.
we don't do that.
Yeah, makeup. You have to curl my hair today. Today I'm going to straighten my hair. Today I'm going to do this. Like, that was a thing for high school. Yeah.
Like stick straight where it's just burning to death. I would have conditioning in the morning at 5 a.m., go to school all day. It's hard for me. The only reason I will share my high school in this way is just to show how much, like, as a high schooler, I perceived that I had on my shoulders. Because then in my classes all day, most of them were AP classes, which were challenging and were very demanding, and I was expected to have A's in all of these. Like B's were not going to work in my household. Then after school, we would either have another cheer practice or a game. And then on the weekends, I worked from 5 a.m. until, the restaurant closed at like 3 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
And somehow in between that, like, I'm a social person and I would still find time to go out, and I would get in a little trouble here and there. I still had fun, but I always, at the end of the day, felt like this responsibility: get home, don't let my parents worry. Like, I would have felt terrible. I was never the kid to push my curfew. I did not want my parents worried about me. I knew that they were anxious about me driving or whatever. So I just feel like I was...
Would you say you were a rule follower?
Yes and no. Like,
I know you got in trouble here and there, but like, was it fear? Were you scared that your parents would get mad at you?
Yes.
Was that the fear? Because that was my fear. I was afraid of getting yelled at.
I wanted the perception to be that I was a rule follower. Like, I respect authority, or I don't know. I still do. I really, really, really like understood authority. So I didn't want to let anybody down. I wanted to be seen as like doing well, doing the right things, performing well, looking the right way, all of those things. Behind the scenes, I definitely push some boundaries.
It came from, you said you were already dancing, doing shows like when you were really young, right?
Yeah.
Like this stuff. So like you always had to like prepare, perform.
Prepare, perform, set a goal, achieve it, have those nerves, do that, like,
push
the
through
acceleration.
Right.
Yes.
And then like, do you remember as a child, like, oh, that felt great? Do you think that that's like, okay, so you remember like...
Totally.
So in a way it's a blessing how your parents kind of like pushed you into these things, because instead of letting fear stop you as a child, you just kind of became programmed to push through things.
Oh, yes,
at the end
absolutely.
Right?
Like, I'm actually really... There's two ways to look at it. There's one where it's like, oh my gosh, it didn't have to be like that. Let kids be kids. Let kids learn that if they mess up, it's not the end of the world. There's more important things than grades, GPA, whatever. But then on the other hand, I definitely wouldn't be doing anything I'm doing without this. So I know a lot of the times people are like, I'm not going to parent like that, or I wish it were different because I had all this pressure. But without all of that, I wouldn't even be sitting here talking to you.
You wouldn't be.
So I honestly wouldn't change it.
Right.
I don't know if that's like healthier, but it definitely...
I mean, listen, what's toxic and not... We talked about this earlier too. It's like a therapist will always sit here like, you haven't processed things and you've just been pushing your life, but like it's different for everybody else. And if it's worked for you thus far, you just do it till it works for you.
And I think it's just the perspective. There's definitely things that it has cost me and challenges that it's given me, but would I trade that for what I have right now? No.
Do you think did you have anxiety when you were younger?
For sure.
How did you know? When did you know, like, what gave it away?
I think that my anxiety shone through in like I had adult worries when I really didn't need to. Like, I would make a choice about $10, like my own personal finances at 16, that normally I feel like a 16-year-old would ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And I was living like I was solely responsible for a lot of things that a kid normally wouldn't think of. Again, I definitely once took my credit card and spent $1,000 unauthorized dollars on it.
We let one slide. It's okay.
But ultimately, I grew up, just like with this worry of, how am I going to be successful? What job? And this was before, we didn't have YouTube, TikTok,
No.
anything. What I knew about the jobs I could do was limited to what I saw. So
same with anxiety. We
Yeah.
weren't watching podcasts back then. We weren't listening to people weren't talking about this stuff like years ago. And
no.
it wasn't like a thing to talk about anxiety. I feel like it's now okay in the last few years. But even as a child, you wouldn't like, oh, these feelings that I'm having right now it's called anxiety.
Right.
You know, like you wouldn't, and you're absolutely right. What 16-year-old should be having these adult worries? And I'm sure your parents didn't put those on you, but it's like you probably put them on yourself because you were programmed to have they had such high expectations of you. And so that's how it just translated in your mind, because I've done the same thing. Like I would be thinking about things and worrying about things that were not my business to be thinking about.
Right.
You know, but I would somehow like wear this cloak on myself, like this, you know, this thing on my, what if this happens to dad? And then what happens?
Yes.
My parents never said anything to me about that. It never made me feel that way. But I would catch myself at night and be like, if something happens to dad, like what would happen to our family? You know, like I had the weirdest like mind, like there is a place in time where I can say my anxiety as a child was self-driven, I guess you could say, you know. But I think it all came from being responsible, being taught to be responsible, being taught to see things in the future, and like, you know, you have to take care of yourself and you have to be good and you have to be a providing citizen. Like that's where it all came from. And so I see that in a lot of entrepreneurs though.
And I think a lot of it too is that there was such a focus on grades.
Yes.
So without my parents saying it, it's like, okay, well, if it's so important to have an A and it's so bad to get a B or a C, like a C could never happen. I would not be sitting here. I was a thoughtful kid too. So I think I could just figure out, if my parents are so worried about me even getting a B, that means that if I don't turn out a certain way, something really bad could happen.
Yeah.
Or like I won't have the life that they want me to have.
Yeah.
All over this B. And also thinking that everything is so permanent. Like this B in math is going to stick with me forever. So I could not.
You are speaking my language. I like literally you're taking the word. Like that's how my childhood was. Like it's the end of the world if you don't get an A. And like even if they didn't say it, it was like perceived that way on my end. Like, what does this mean? I'm not smart, or I'm like a bad kid, or I'm not going to have the good future.
What's going to happen?
That they tell me about. And so that kind of translated into all other areas of my life as I navigated high school
and then as the
college.
Oldest child, it's like, well, then my parents are going to worry about me, which is like a whole guilty thing. And then how are my siblings going to learn? Because I'm also the example.
Yes.
But then I would, go to a party and get caught drinking by my parents.
Yeah,
and
it's happened to me too. But it was probably like 5 mistakes that I've made. And I'm sure it's the same for you. There's probably like 4 or 5 things that we've done.
Like 5 big ones.
When we kind of tried to go this way a little bit and have fun, it's like, well, no, okay, that wasn't fun. You know, like I got the wrath of my parents. When I got in trouble. It was just, then I just kind of walked a straight line after that.
Absolutely.
But,
I definitely wanted to be like wrapped up on the outside, still have fun. You know, my friends had various different levels of this in their life. Some of them not at all. A lot of them sort of similar. But ultimately, I knew that it was really important how I was perceived. Like I knew that it was important to have achievements and like a resume. I was building a resume.
Yeah. And do you almost feel like you were seeing yourself or judging yourself by how your parents acknowledged you did good or you did bad? Like it was in their eyes, right? Like you were looking at it through their eyes. Like I am enough and I'm good enough if and when I achieve these things.
Yes. And also this part is good, but I would get like a little bit of cash for good grades.
So would I.
I think I learned this. I'm so grateful for this because I learned that if I work, like if I study, it will be worth it because then I think that's how I learned that I wanted to make money.
How much did you get?
I don't need probably $10 for an A or $15 for an A.
I would get $1 for an A.
You're like, yes.
And I would be so happy. Like it would just like, and if it was an A-, like you'd see the struggle in my dad's eyes, like, and then I'd be like, damn it, like I just want
still an A,
and like
please.
That kind of went through my whole life too. It's like if it was almost like a punishment and reward type of thing, which I agree with and I don't agree with, but I think you're right. Like in some ways it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But to make it your whole MO and to make your whole personality as a child and think there's right or wrong like everything's so solid and so concrete.
Yes.
I don't agree with that anymore.
Yeah.
But I guess it's going to go into my next question is how your early experiences have helped you face challenges that you face later in life. Like, how did your early experiences with your family and your upbringing help you face life today?
I think the biggest way is that it just taught me that if I do put in the work, I don't feel like I have a control thing. This is going to sound like that, but then I can control the outcome. And I don't mean that like I have anxiety. I want to be in control. I just mean that I can influence the outcome that I want through like my own direct. It's kind of empowering.
You're creating the outcome because it's all based on how much work you're putting in.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Or how, not necessarily how much, but how well I do something. Like it's like going to the gym, if you want to get stronger, the only person that can put that work in is you. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it instilled that if I want to achieve something, I know I have the tools, I have the resources, and I've seen it work in my life before, that I know I can set out my steps and I can do them and work toward a goal.
You mentioned to me earlier off camera that you don't have anxiety anymore. And I told you that was like that stood out to me like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
And I acknowledge that not everybody feels that way and it's not true for everyone. So I'm not like downplaying that for anyone else, but it's the first time I heard someone say that they did have anxiety, but they don't have it anymore. So I would love to know, and I'm assuming these tools that you're talking about, like it's more empowering, that this affects that how much anxiety you have or you don't have is what I'm like. I feel like these tools that you've gotten over the years with your experiences and your exposure to challenge after challenge after challenge has helped you to be like, I don't have anxiety because how and when I show up is me controlling the outcome. And it's
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. For someone that used to be really worried about, I used to be really worried about things that I didn't need to be that worried about. And now I have some huge responsibilities, and I actually have some huge things that I could and should be worried about, but I don't feel that way. I don't feel that anxiety and that hanging over me worry about these things anymore, or like at all now, because I think I learned that worry's not in the toolbox. Like it's not one of the things that will help me get to where I want to. It's not going to help anything at all. Like there's a quote, worrying is making the worst outcome real, like right now.
Yeah, 100. I just saw when worrying is worshiping the problem. Yeah, that didn't even happen yet.
Yeah.
It's like, why are we doing that to ourselves?
So I had to kind of discard that from the toolbox. It took practice.
Is there any specific practice that you've done, or is just exposure in life back to back? Like, is there anything that you actually do to like, or maybe you unconsciously did it and it ended up helping you?
I think if I reflect back on it, it's exposure. It's to going through a cycle of facing potentially the worst thing, getting through it, facing the next worst thing, getting through it, realizing that like life goes on, your career goes on, people forgive, friendships are very like supportive, building up the toolbox of these things that help. And I mean, a healthy lifestyle is also huge. I'm really passionate about that, what you eat, like exercise, what you consume, but exposure. For sure.
Yeah. I think exposing yourself to things, I mean, obviously nothing in danger, right? But like exposing yourself and doing things that make you scared, that you're scared of, and instead of saying, oh, that's not for me, I think being able to read yourself, being like, I don't want to do this because it's something I'm scared of, not because you don't like it. And I think a lot of people are like, no, I don't want to. It's not because they don't like it. They probably want to do it. They're just afraid. So one, I think learning that about yourself, that's how I've found that it just like helps me like, oh, okay, no, this is something I should lean into more. And then the more you do it, it's like anything, like playing sports or dancing or cheerleading. It's like the more you do something, then it's like, oh, I think you have this confidence about you have a lot of you exude a lot of confidence. Like when you walked through the door, it was like, I know looking at you, you're like, I can handle anything.
I think that that's my biggest strength, is that I will put myself in, like, I will willingly seek out situations that are very, very uncomfortable that I think a lot of people avoid. I'll be like, well, that's next on the menu. Like, let's see if I can do that. Let's see how I'll feel if I can achieve that or get through that. I think a lot of people do themselves such a disservice by avoiding those opportunities because they're so uncomfortable. I think it's really sad. I think that there's a lot of people that I know where I see the world for them, but they maybe don't want to step out of that box because it's terrifying.
I know so many people
I'm
like
so
that.
used to being in that outside of that box.
Yeah. It makes me so sad when I see that. It's like, you want to, people say think outside the box. I'm always like, no, live outside the box.
Right.
Like, live outside the box, continuously do things and push yourself, not on someone else's timeline, on your own timeline, but constantly seek out things that interest you. And even if they're scary, lean in and push forward. And I think that's how you grow. And I forget, I think it's Tony Robbins who says this, but he's like, I think the human soul withers away and dies when it doesn't see progress. And the only way you're going to see progress is if you do what you're saying.
And you just build confidence.
Yeah.
And there's a quote that I really love that I share with my team members. But in any circumstance, you can say, I never have to live this day again. Go do it. Get it done. You never have to live it again. And then it becomes something that you've done.
That's a good way to look. I've never looked at it that way.
It will change everything. Even I haven't been on a podcast before. I wake up this morning. And I'm like, okay, this is new. I am only having my first experience doing this once. And after this, the next time I've done that, and that's how you build lasting confidence. It is fake it till you make it and expose yourself and become proud of yourself.
Yeah. And I also think like you create new neural pathways when you're doing things like this. Like, I'm a huge believer in Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and all those guys. And it's just like, when you do things outside of your comfort, it's just like lifting weights. If you still lift the 5 pounds, you're never going to grow that muscle unless you go up in weight. You know what I mean? Like, you have to like keep going. And so it's like, you have to change the stimulus along the way, and that's taking different action and leaning in. And then your brain, I mean, I've seen so many videos on this where your brain scans change. Like, it'd be so crazy. Like, all your neurons are probably firing at this point. At all times. But it's such a good thing because that's what keeps you young. That's what keeps you healthy. That's
like elasticity.
All of that stuff. Like, it's so much more intricate than us just saying, hey, take action and lean into your fear. No, this parlays into every area of your life. Your mental health, your physical health, how you look on the outside, how you feel on the inside. And then how successful you feel, how successful you are in life, whatever that definition is for you.
Exactly.
I think they're very highly correlated with each other.
It's not something that you can, like going to the gym, it's not something that you can skip.
No.
Like, you have to put in these reps. With anything, repetition, you learn it, you build new pathways.
When you keep doing that, that's how your brain fires on things, which takes me to my next point. How did you get into you're an entrepreneur now, but you had a journey up to this point, and you were in finance before this, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So I graduated high school, looking at college. I'm like, okay, what's going to be a good career?
Is that's how you looked at it now?
That's how I approached it.
Mom and dad are still in the picture, right? So it's like, are they telling you what they want you to be, or are you just, you're picking, like you're looking?
Yeah. My parents weren't like, here's who you have to be ever.
Okay.
But it was like, I think that they saw, speaking of seeing potential in people, I think that they were so on it because they also like saw it for me. And they were like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, who's asking me? Like, I don't know. How would I know? I haven't ever thought of that. I've always just been doing. So I actually started off as a chemistry major. And that's just because literally I Googled like what makes money. And so I was like, I'll be a pharmacist. I did the same shit. And I liked chemistry in high school, but I was like, I'll be a pharmacist. Okay. I don't even know what it means to be a pharmacist at this point. And after my first semester in chemistry, I was like, that's not it. Okay, then I started to learn how to think, about myself. And I'm like, how do I want my life to look? I'm like, okay, well, I want to be in an office in like an amazing outfit with a great view, talk to my dad. And he's like, well, why don't you try finance? So that sounded right. I switched right away, still graduated in the same amount of time because I had to.
Okay.
And after that, I got into securities. I got 2 licenses to actually be like a securities broker and spent a year doing that before I got an opportunity to be hands-on.
Securities is not easy.
No.
So in law school, I had to take a securities class. And let me tell you, people would flunk, but people couldn't graduate. That's how hard this class was. And that's how hard it was. Like, that was not easy at all. And you did what, 2? You said you got 2 certs.
2 licenses. One's like the main Series 7. It was also interesting because I had no exposure to the real life applications of any of this.
Right.
In school. I was like taking classes about stocks, which were kind of just concepts to me because I wasn't exposed to investing when I was 19. Learning that, ended up getting the licenses, and I started working for like a securities broker, Vanguard. And
is this in Arizona still?
In Arizona.
Okay.
That's where what I wanted for myself started to take shape more. I remember being in the elevator. I was looking at, this is like sounds like such a hater thing, but I was looking at my coworkers and like their lunch boxes and their faces were just like expressionless. And I realized that these people were twice my age and like had no like life in them. They were just here to clock in, like do their job and leave. And I was like, holy shit, this...
Not what I want for myself.
No.
How long were you at Vanguard for?
Just shy of a year.
Okay. All right. And then did you still stay in finance after that?
I really believe that opportunities are everywhere. And when you're open to them and you have the tools, like you've done all the work on yourself that you need, when you see them, you're able to take them. So I didn't make the decision, like, I'm going to leave this job. I just recognized that this is not for me, which it is what I think like was me opening my eyes. And then the next opportunity came like and presented itself.
Amazing.
That's what's happened up until literally this day. With everything I've done, everything I do, I realize that I'm open to change. And then you just have to keep putting in the work and then I'll find it.
Wow.
You know, without forcing it.
Wow, that's such a beautiful way of you put it so eloquently. You know, it's like there's no forcing or like, you know, like you're not like a lot of us do this. You know, when something's off, you know, like I was in positions where I didn't like my job too, but I would be like, oh, I don't want to go to work. You know what I mean? Like I would fight it, and it's like, no, you just recognize it, not in alignment with you. Great, and now allow the universe to show you what's next for you. I would keep your ears and eyes open, right? Go mingle, go do things, whatever you need to do it. But it's like, whatever's meant for you is going to appear.
I think so.
You don't have to be like
I really do.
fish everywhere. You know, like you feel like this like person trying to force things and really it can just happen to you. So what was this opportunity?
I feel like this eased a lot of the anxiety too. Was like, I don't have to be in control. I don't have to worry about it. I just felt like I knew, like, okay, it's not this. Keep doing the steps. Keep working on yourself so that when you find out what's next, you're in the right place to take it.
You go, yeah.
After that, I ended up, when I was in college, I worked full time and I would go like to my full-time job and either go to ASU before like early in the morning or later, normal. But I was probably working like 45, 50 hours a week at this local mid-size corporation. And they reached out to me around the time that I was deciding I didn't want to stay in securities and said, you know, I had several years tenure there and they let me know that they had a big opportunity. They really needed somebody who had a financial background, but also who they could trust because this company with 200 plus employees was about to go into a Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Oh, no way. And
it's somewhere that I had worked at. I was very close with most of the people there, very close, and looked at this like, okay, this could be scary. You're saying words like bankruptcy, but I saw this as such a huge opportunity to work somewhere that I was really passionate about, somewhere that I cared about, and also somewhere that I would have an opportunity to really learn like the actual inner workings of a company. And also, most importantly, somewhere that I could make a big impact.
It made a big difference. Yeah. How did your experience in the corporate world in finance, do you feel prepared you for entrepreneurship? that was about to happen, right? Like, you
yeah.
get into that. It's like, how do you think that parlays into that?
The experience that I had in that role was the best education I've ever gotten in my life. I was in finance there, but because of what the company was going through, how the company was structured, I was also like in executive leadership.
This was the one filing for Chapter 11.
Yeah. So at this point, we're in Chapter 11. I'm so proud of what we were able to do at that company. It like made it through.
It made it through.
It's the best success story ever.
Oh my gosh.
So proud of that. I'm obsessed with that. But that also taught me everything I could imagine about business. So there were no curtains there. I saw everything. I had kind of a hand in everything. So I literally learned how to run a business. Literally from hiring over here to payroll to obviously the financials, which I had a heavier part in, but also a ton of operations. I worked really closely with the CEO for the duration of that time. That's a big company with massive bills, like a huge payroll, a ton of responsibilities. So,
and this is also still in Arizona.
In Arizona, yeah. I learned everything that there is to know about a business. I learned what can go wrong. Like we faced some very serious and very scary, like a $30 million lawsuit at one point.
Wow.
I learned what can happen, like when the worst happens, how to get through it, how to overcome that, you know, budgets for the next year, tracking everything, hiring everybody, measuring performance, dealing with employees, letting people go for better or worse. I was involved with all of that. So
I think it's important to know that you're very young too, getting all this exposure to this. I mean, you were out of college at Vanguard and now you're here within a year.
Exactly. This was like age 24.
Wow.
Or no, if I graduated, this was age 22 through like 30.
Wow.
Started off as a finance manager, ended up being VP of finance and just saw everything and like enacted a lot of change there and a lot of processes and structure and came out of that. And even while I was doing it, I was aware that I'm learning how to do things that I'll use again.
I was going to say, did you know like, wow, I'm learning how to do a business. I'm learning how to hire. I'm learning about payroll. Like, were you aware in the moment?
Very.
But you didn't know yet what the future was going to turn into. We didn't get there yet, but like you had no idea.
I had
where
no
you were
idea.
going to apply this.
No idea. But I was following my like principle of learn everything you can, say yes to these scary opportunities, say yes to these big opportunities, do all the steps. And it just felt good. Like we were seeing results. The company was improving exponentially and being directly involved, you know, and it was really cool being somewhere that we could say, why do we do it like this? Let's not. And then literally the next day we could do something different.
Which was different than Vanguard. Now you're able to implement change. You see something and now you're able to. So at a very young age, you're telling me you were able to walk in somewhere and see, this is a problem. This can be done differently. Let's do it differently.
Yeah.
And you had an opportunity, you had an experience where the change wasn't fast enough. And then you also had an experience pretty quickly where people were open to your feedback and they would implement the change that you saw, that you felt that they needed. And then you'd see the results.
I got so obsessed with being hands-on, so obsessed with looking back and saying, we did that, you know, not just me alone, but like as a team, learning how to work as a team. I love leadership. I watched other people, like people that I would hire, watch their careers grow, having been there for, I describe it as like a decade. I think probably it was from age 20 to 30, but watching people grow, watching the company grow, being a part of it, we would try things and say, okay, that doesn't work. Stop that. Try something else. It's just so much learning.
Also people that you knew before when you worked here, when you were in college, right? So it's like, I'm assuming some of the same people were working there when you came back.
Changed a lot. Like only a few. There was a core team that we just crushed it.
Wow.
Loved it.
That is awesome.
Got rid of, you know, a lot of, you learn that things have to happen. It's not always easy. It's not always a pretty picture. A lot of people had to go, whether they wanted to go or we wanted them to go. You know, you have to make a lot of really difficult decisions too. It's not just all fun. There were many nights I was there till 10 p.m. or later. I didn't get paid more for that, but I saw that as contributing to the results that we wanted. All just like reinforcing my work ethic, my passion for leadership, me loving being hands-on with something, and being able to celebrate and like share in the result.
So you're a VP now, right? Of finance? That was your title?
Yeah, but I was involved in
everything,
like operations too.
everything.
Yeah.
So now what takes you, or what happens in your life that takes you like to leave this, wanting to leave this stable career that you've worked so hard for? You basically worked up the ladder, right? Where does that shift come, and how do you end up with Pure Barre Miami?
Yeah. So this is the craziest thing. If I look back and look for a turning point, I started to get the same feeling that there was something else.
Okay.
I don't think when I feel like that, I don't think too much about it. I just like acknowledge it. Like, okay, here we go. And why would I want that? I got to where I should want to be. After that, I could be CFO, or, I could stay there, and I loved this company. But I was like, oh God, okay, apparently there's something else, because I could see that. And I was a Pure Barre client already at this point for several years. Truly, there's not a workout that I'm more obsessed with for so many reasons. And was, on a trip to Miami, just visiting. I think I was here for a week, so I wanted to do my workout, not the hotel workout. Brought my sticky socks. It was like 7 or 8 a.m. I was super sure there was a Pure Barre class or a Pure Barre studio staying in Brickell. There's every boutique studio there. Yeah.
Brickell has everything.
I put Pure Barre in my maps and saw that there wasn't one. And I was like, oh my God, okay, that's it.
That's the moment you realized what, your opportunity?
Yeah. It was like, I guess that's it. Because at this point, I'm living every day aware that I'm looking for something.
Okay, got it. So it was clear. Like it was on top of mind that you were looking for something. This other gig isn't your last stop.
Yeah, and not even for any reason. Like, I loved that. I just knew there would be something. And my goal was actually to have Pure Barre, to build Pure Barre Miami here and to stay in Arizona.
Oh.
Because I overachieve. I want to do both. I want it all.
Okay.
And I was like, shoot, that's it. So on my flight back to Arizona, I emailed it's a franchise. So I emailed the parent company, which is not the way to do it. Like there's an application process. But
what year is this?
2020.
Okay.
Or 2021. It's 2021. No, a little bit. Well, it still was it was probably May 2021.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't want to do all this research about, also, I'm not like, I like experience over research. Yeah. I'm more likely to go for something and try it and figure it out than overthink, overplan. So I just emailed them and said, apparently there's not a Pure Barre in Miami, which I see to be this vibrant, growing, wellness-focused community. And there's 700 Pure Barres in the nation. So why? Which felt like a crazy opportunity to find, and told them I think, I want to do that. So I planned on doing one studio and visited the corporate office for Pure Barre, went through all of that, came out with 4 territories.
Wow, 4 of them. So there's one in Merrick Park, right?
There's one in Coral Gables, which I later took over.
Okay.
So at this time, how it started is I wanted to do Brickell.
Okay.
Ended up leaving with like the Midtown Wynwood territory and the Brickell territory. A month later, added on Miami Beach, and then brought Coral Gables into the mix.
Got it.
Which was already open.
Okay, got it.
That one was
which ones are open right now? There is
Midtown and Coral Gables.
Are the 2 locations that people can go to?
Yeah.
Right now. Okay, great. What challenges did you face now in trying to bring Pure Barre Miami to life?
The biggest challenge is not what I thought it would be.
What did you think it would be?
I thought the biggest challenge would be like growing this community, bringing in the people, like actually turning
like clients, like bringing in
clients and like the team. Like in my experience and with business, it was like all about people, which this is too, but I thought that was going to be the hard thing. And it turned out that was so natural and so much easier than I expected. And the difficult part was just getting the physical space.
You mean like the studio itself?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Like because of construction, and it's just so eye-opening because you think like the physical space is just the physical shell and the business is actually the people, which it is. So it was crazy that the shell caused us.
What was it? There
all these
wasn't enough.
challenges.
I mean, I know it was during the pandemic, but I feel like Miami was not really on lockdown. So was it like there wasn't enough retail, like a studio space, or was it permitting?
So I didn't even sign the lease until November 2021. So COVID had impacted, I'm sure, every aspect of construction, but permitting took over a year.
Wow.
Just to even get a piece of paper that says you could start to build this. And then construction took another year after that.
Wow. Do we know why? Or is that just the norm here?
It seems like it's the norm here.
Okay.
You know, you'll commonly see in areas or plazas where there's a lot of new construction, a name of a business coming soon, and it will stay like that for a year or two.
Years. Yeah. I have noticed that, but I've never tried to open a business per se in Miami. So, but I have seen that, and my husband and I talked. Was like, why is that not open? Like, we want to go.
And you know what? People were saying like, when we finally opened, I thought there was something wrong with you guys. I thought you were never going to open. I thought something had happened and you were bailing, or this wasn't real. This was never going to pull through. What's wrong with Pure Barre? Like, it's not a good perception when in reality, we're doing everything that you possibly can, but things are taking months.
Right. So permitting, you'd say, was your biggest challenge.
Absolutely. And I don't think that that's okay.
Right.
I think it makes it extremely challenging for, and we had such a hard time because this was a completely new construction. The ground was dirt. Oh. Like it was just cinder blocks.
Oh, so you didn't even, there was no
dirt.
I see what you're
saying. So I had to do the plumbing. I had to do all of the electric, all of the AC. I didn't do it, but you know.
Was that fun for you though? Like to build something? I mean, you're like a finance girl and like, or finance woman, and now you're coming into like something creative.
I thought it was going to be. I honestly was so excited for this part, but it took so long.
It was frustrating.
This is the saddest part of the journey, I think. Well, it's one of them, but looking back and being like seeing it come to life could have been, like, should have been so exciting. I did cry when it finally opened, but it was so brutal getting to that point that I was just like, let's just go.
Yeah. But I feel like all of your lessons from being in finance, like we talked about earlier, it's like your perseverance, pushing through.
Oh, it got me through this.
Like taking action, bold action, instead of overthinking and researching and figuring. It's like you just kind of kept, doing it the whole way.
Yeah, it got me through that. I mean, especially coming to like, things can get tricky with a landlord in that situation where you can't open your doors and
every day it's money. Every day that's money going out the door.
And being really confident in my negotiation skills and being really comfortable with that topic, like probably saved me because I had to have difficult conversations. I had to look at things really critically and, find out what I needed and then advocate for myself and for the business. At this point, I'm completely alone in this. I don't have partners.
Right. You don't have employees. You don't have partners. You don't have a team.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't have
You're not a company. You're not
investors. It's Kacia. And I'm there like, okay, how we have this huge challenge. I say we because I seriously think, Pure Barre Miami right now is not just me. It's a lot of people. But at this time, it's just me. And I'm like, oh my God. At so many points, it's like, this is really difficult, really scary.
Yeah.
How am I going to now, 13 months in, get this done? But
is that how long it took? 13 months?
Well, just for the permits.
Oh, so permits took 13 months. And then when did you open your doors?
And then construction took almost another year after that.
So over 2 years.
For a 1,300 square foot space.
Wow.
But yeah, being mostly like, or in the business aspect, being alone in that, advocating for what we needed in order to actually like persevere, open the doors, and now being a thriving business, that's like what took the most guts. And that's where I was the most grateful for the experience.
Are there any other challenges
that I had
that happened when you were trying to open Pure Barre Miami?
Gratefully, not really. I mean, it was hard because I was so excited at the beginning and actually hired people right away based on the projected timeline. Permits were supposed to take 12 weeks max.
Okay.
Weeks. And construction was supposed to take 3 months max. So I hired people that, like, we came together, we were a team, and those people, almost all of them, by the time we opened, weren't still team members because, I mean, you just feel like you let people down.
You let people down. That's what it feels like, but it's out of your control.
Yeah.
It's not your...
that was tough.
It's not your fault at the end of the day.
Right.
You know?
It feels like it, though, when you're, when you're the business owner and the one steering the ship, like, you still, it's no one's fault, but you still feel responsible.
I totally get it. What, 'cause you moved from Arizona to Miami now to start this new. So not only did you make a bold career move, completely different industry, right? Now you're an entrepreneur and you're also in a different city. So I'm just like, I'm looking at your life right now and I'm just like, wait, so she changes careers. She's opening up her own business, not just like you're like, oh, hey, I got a new job and I start tomorrow.
Right.
And you're in a new city. How did you adapt? Or did you not think about it?
Like that, just honestly not thinking too much about it. I feel like something that I say a lot is like, who got me into this? Like who got me into this? Yeah. Apparently I did. Apparently I decided to leave everything and move by myself and go from a very stable, very comfortable, very like achieved position that I was in and come over here and have all this risk and all this responsibility and not really anyone to like share that with. Yeah. But I did that. I adapted because I just kept waking up every day. Yeah.
Right. I think when you have that sense of responsibility and you took on all that risk to open up a business and now you're with a franchise, like you're doing it. It's like you don't have any choice but to show up. Were there any sacrifices you feel you had to make? Oh,
yeah. I mean, I definitely sacrificed so much as far as relationships across like every relationship in my life. I'm so grateful for my friends that have been there from then to now, but every single relationship had been strained because my time, my energy, stress levels, like a roller coaster.
Right.
Definitely sacrificed quality time with people that really matter to me. Sacrificed like every dollar that I have,
investing in
all of it.
Okay.
Like I really believe in this, and I believe in this community in Miami and Pure Barre and wellness so much. That's what drew me to do this. But I didn't go into ahead of time like, yeah, I'm going to give up everything.
Do you regret any of it?
No, I can't. I mean, I could regret certain things, certain specific aspects, but that's part of why I feel like I'm not anxious is like, I just
You're not
keep
overthinking
going.
anything.
Yeah, I don't overthink at all.
You keep going.
Yeah.
How do you navigate moments of stress currently as it stands, like in entrepreneurship in your business? Like, how do you handle, do you meditate? What is your tactic? Is there a tool in your box that you use?
I think that Pure Barre itself covers like meditation and
the workout itself.
Yeah. Okay. Because when you're taking a Pure Barre class, your brain is empty. And it's the only time in my day that my brain is empty. And I think like that active meditation is better for me than just trying to purposely clear my mind.
But you can't form a thought because you're so busy like...
You're suffering. You're burning. Every muscle that you have is screaming at you. And all that you could do is just stay in the moment and get through it. Like I've had days where I go into a class, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have so much on my mind. And at the end of the 50 minutes, I will actually realize like I haven't thought at all.
That happens to me too.
And it just resets you for whatever you do after that. You can't even go back to the stress the same way.
It's like we were talking about it too. It's like, then you train your mind. Oh, I can turn off. I don't have to obsess about this problem. I feel like you started to do that at a very young age. Like, I feel like you have a leg up on that and I think that's what parlays into you don't have anxiety anymore. You know, I feel like your mind already knows like, okay, like you said to me earlier, you can't, you have to go to dinner tonight, but you don't even know where because you didn't go into the text and try to pre-plan and figure out, like, you know what I mean? It's like, when the time comes, I know when to tackle it, and then I move on.
I know I'm going. I'll be there. One thing is if I say I'll be somewhere, I don't bail. Like I don't bail.
I bail all the time. I go back on my word all the time.
I maybe should bail, and I could probably have like some more me time.
Yeah.
But I won't bail. But you might think I'm going to bail because I haven't responded.
You haven't said anything or even talked about it.
No, but I know I'm going to be there.
I'm going to take that tool from your box for sure. Like,
yeah.
You know, like show up, don't bail on people, and don't think too much about it.
But yeah, I might not be able to spend all of the time ahead talking about it, but I will be there.
You'll be there. Yeah.
And I'll find out where I'm going.
You're present in the moment, in your life and in your work, as opposed to thinking about something in the future.
I didn't used to be good at being present, like at all. But now if I'm not present, I'll literally miss everything. So I had to figure out
figured out. And it's a muscle, like we talked about. It's a muscle and you practice it. When did you feel that your business was taking off? Like you made the right decision?
The day that we opened the doors. So
really?
Miami was so ready for Pure Barre.
Okay.
We opened the doors with 300 members.
Wow.
Like signed like in Midtown.
And that's after a 2-year delay.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So that day was like the day I was waiting for, so grateful for. And everything just felt real. And it was like, okay, it's here. The community, the classes were happening. Like that was, I would bottle that up and like experience that again.
You mentioned earlier about like the sense of community that Pure Barre Miami has. Did you do something to actively create that and grow that community? Did you have methods and tactics, or did it just organically happen?
So organic. And that's not me like at all. That's the people.
Okay.
That's honestly the team at Pure Barre Miami are the best girls and guys that I've ever met. And they have done that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
the
incredible.
teachers, like they care so much about, like there's the 6 a.m. class is like the 6 a.m. crew. And they all know each other.
So they know each other.
Yes.
And then like, okay, I see what you're saying. Like,
and that happened from like the teachers facilitating such a great space, the manager, you know.
Got it. We talked about what your most rewarding part of the finance world was, right? What would you say the most rewarding thing you get from being an entrepreneur and an owner of Pure Barre Miami? Not just Pure, but just being an owner of a business. What's the most rewarding thing to you?
Oh, there's so many. Everything about Pure Barre is rewarding and like gives me the warm and fuzzies, but I take my same feelings from finance and from the corporate world is leadership and the team growing and seeing them achieve like their goals. Teachers can get trained in different formats, seeing them meet each other, become best friends, grow in their own self. I truly don't think that Pure Barre is about me at all. It's about them. And I love to watch
people grow
them,
and then grow together and build new relationships that they maybe wouldn't have.
And even the clients, like I started off as a client. So for me to see other people love what Pure Barre does for them, like physically and mentally is so cool.
That's beautiful. What lessons have you learned about leadership in particular from being an entrepreneur?
I think it's kind of similar where they say hire slow, and I don't want to say the F word, fast.
Yeah.
But just to be really selective in any company. I mean, it's not the people at the top, it's the collective that shapes the culture and what the business actually is. So making sure that only the right people come in, especially after 2 years to get open, it's really appealing to, okay, yeah, come in, like you can work here to just try to get things moving as fast as possible. But that's
a recipe for disaster.
It's not sustainable. You know, one person that's toxic for any reason can really hurt everybody else. And you have that responsibility to everybody to do the right thing in who you choose to bring in.
Yeah.
I think it does affect Pure Barre more than like a corporate role because so much Pure Barre is wellness. So how can you have wellness somewhere that you have anything toxic going on?
Oh, I 100% agree. I also feel like, so I had an HR background in college, and I feel like one of the main things that I learned in the real world was you can't just hire somebody and like, you know, like they say, like you fit a square in like a round hole or whatever that saying goes. I'm butchering that, but you have to hire the person for the job. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and like a lot of the times I feel like, especially in corporate America, maybe not like Pure Barre, you're specific, you know who you're hiring from, what you're hiring, but you have to like have an eye for that almost.
Yeah.
and clear communication between you and the person you're trying to hire. But I think the biggest thing is hiring the right person for the right job and not thinking that you can hire this person and they'll learn this and they'll do this and they'll do this too.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's like one of the biggest mistakes an entrepreneur makes in the very beginning.
That for sure. There's something that I love and live by from a leadership standpoint is that every person in an organization should only be doing what they like and not be doing anything they don't like.
Yeah. Plan your strengths and what you like.
Yes.
That's it. I
and
agree.
I think people think, no, they have to do what I tell them to do. It's like, okay, well, let's see how that works out. You need to shape, if you can, shape their role for the things that they like. Whatever they don't like, someone else will like.
Agreed.
You have to build the team to that.
I agree. Totally agree. What is now looking back, right? You were in finance, you were born and raised in Arizona, went to finance, then Pure Barre, came to Miami, like this whole journey you have, and you're very young still. What is the most valuable lesson that you've learned about yourself today as you're sitting? Like, what do you look back on? I'm like, yeah,
I am most proud of my resilience and determination and just like bravery.
You are very
like, I think I'm excited about the future because I think I will take these things into whatever I do next, everything I'm doing now. And I have the same feeling like who knows what could happen in the next 1, 3, 5 years. And I know that if I take all of these strengths into it, and I'm very aware, I'm aware of where I fall short, but that's the strength in itself. And
I feel like you're very empowered.
Yeah.
You empower yourself. Like you take action and then I think you surprise yourself in the sense like you're empowered and then it like rids you of your anxiety.
Exactly.
Like I feel
you just summed it up.
That's such a good like lesson for other young women, and other young boys too. Like you just take action. I'm not saying don't process it. I'm not saying don't talk about it I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like, I think action is one of the most underrated forms of therapy.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like you're a testament to that. I feel like you're a complete, like 100%. How has your perspective on success changed from when you were in college and you first went to Vanguard and, or when your parents, were, you were in high school and it's like, oh, I want to be this, I want to do this. How has your definition of success from then to now evolved? What is it?
I'm like shocked looking back. Like I didn't know anything. Like I thought I knew and I didn't know anything. I had no idea like what is actually out there. I had no idea like what, you can actually achieve. And it's so much more than, okay, I got a good job.
Yeah.
It really is doing something that you feel proud of. I think being proud of yourself, whether that's from finances to your relationships. But I think being successful is just having that sense of pride. It can be based on goals for your income, but that's not the only measure of success. There's like a quote going around that's like a true state of success is a calm nervous system. That feeling of like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing is priceless. I do have ambitious business and financial goals.
You can still be ambitious in that and have a
Absolutely.
calm mind. And you can still have all that and have a chaotic, career going on, but still have peace of mind.
Exactly.
And that like inner, like, I don't know, groundedness, I think I want to call it, where like, you just know I can deal with anything. I can handle anything. I can figure it out. You embrace change. I feel like if I'm like looking at you, I'm like, Kacia embraces change. She leans into her fears. She feels very empowered. At a very young age, you've kind of figured out, and you're very intuitive. Okay, things are going to change. I'm feeling a change coming soon. And then you just open yourself up to it.
And look, I also know that things will go wrong. Like I will make mistakes. Like I'll probably make a mistake tomorrow.
But it's not the end of the world for you.
No, I know things will go wrong, but I know I'll be equipped to handle it. And even if I'm not already equipped to handle it, I will come out of it equipped to handle it the next time.
Right. As opposed to when we were younger, right? And it's like with your parents, it's like, oh my God, like this is what's going to happen if I don't get an A, right? What's going to happen if I don't do this?
I already know what's going to happen if X, Y, Z, like, I know what's going to happen.
You're creating the outcome.
I've been there. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
What advice would you give other young people trying to make a bold career move like you did?
I mean, I don't want to say just go for it because I don't think that that's always good advice. I think a lot of the times people will just go for something that like maybe, you do have to look critically at things and make sure that you're good.
But don't overanalyze something where it's like, my husband calls it analysis paralysis.
Oh, 100%.
I think it is. Like, I have that sometimes. And it's like you said, you said something earlier about like, I didn't sit there when you were going for Pure Barre Miami to bring it to Miami. I didn't sit there and research it. I just emailed corporate.
Like when you feel like called to do something, then just go for it. Yeah. It's not a blanket thing. Still be like,
it's like you should learn first, I think, emotional IQ of like,
yes,
what does this mean for me? Like, I feel like when you started to be like, oh, this isn't for me. Like, when you were in college in Vanguard, you started to have a pattern. I don't know if you even caught that, but like you have like, I know something's going to change. And then you open up, but it's something you know about yourself.
And then when it comes, I literally say, so it's 3 times now. Oh,
yeah,
there it is.
There it is. I already feel it coming again. There it is.
Yeah. So my biggest advice is to like practice. If you're good at something or you're called to do something, get really good at it. Like behind the scenes, whatever that is for you, get really good at it and keep your eyes open and then freaking go for it.
I love that. What's next for you personally and your business?
So next for Pure Barre Miami, I am officially like on the ground looking for a Brickell location.
Amazing.
Which is the one I've been the most excited about since this started, just because of the story. So the sooner that happens.
This has been in how many years in the making now?
Since 2021.
Right. So we're like.
So almost 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. Almost 3.5 right now. So that's huge. Like that's a huge personal goal for me. I don't have much of a separation between personal and Pure Barre Miami because I love it so much.
Love it so much.
Personally, I'm looking forward to this year embracing more connections with people. I sacrificed that a lot getting here, and I want to open back up.
But now you feel like you're in a place where, okay, I can work on those parts of my life.
Yes.
And like bring that balance into my life.
And it's all for a reason. I sacrificed it, not indefinitely.
No.
It was a calculated, I need to focus right now on this. And then now I can, embrace a little. And I'm sure there will be in the near future another time where I'm like, okay, I'm back. Back. I'm in it.
Right.
So.
Right. I love it. Wasn't the end of the world the first time around. And that's
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Kacia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story. It was very inspiring.
Thank you.
Where can people find you and connect with you? Where are your locations? Share that one more time. Maybe do they have their own handles on Instagram?
So
just Pure Barre Miami.
Pure Barre Miami on Instagram. Okay. You can find everything Pure Barre Miami there.
And we have Coral Gables,
which is in Merrick Park.
And we have Midtown,
which is just doors down from Trader Joe's.
And Brickell's coming soon.
Brickell's coming next.
Very good.
Miami Beach after that.
Very good. Any personal
and
ways that people can connect with you?
Yeah. So my Instagram is my name, Kacia.
Okay.
Usually I come up at that point because
it's a unique name. It's a unique name. It's a beautiful unique name.
And after that, so KaciaAlene.
Perfect.
Which is my middle name.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.